Okay, we're going to go over these spreadsheet skills here using this spreadsheet document with multiple sheets here at the bottom with some dummy data that's been populated so you can see these different functions and features and get an idea about how they could be done. All the data you see here, all the names have been changed. These are not real names, don't worry. None of them are for real for students. It was just a random name generator used online and just pasted in. All right, so here we have a sign up. Students signed up for, in this case, a winter activity, winter fest at a school, and we need to organize this data so that way it's readable and convenient for teachers to know where their students are going and to have attendance at each station and all of that. So we need to reorganize all of this so it's more manageable. You can notice, right, it's all done right now by the timestamp with the students entering in their selections for the activities that they were going to do. There's a few different things we can do here. First, one option is to create a filter view. So maybe I just want to work within this sheet itself. I don't want to make more sheets. I don't want to do anything else. I want to make a filter where I want to filter it by home-based teacher and have it just show certain teachers instead. So we're going to go to filter views right here and create a new one. And now, instead of the drop down arrow, it's got these filter icons. So I can choose which column do I want to filter by. I'm going to choose the home-based teacher. And I want it to clear all of them because I only want to see Franklin. If I do that, it'll show me only the Franklin. People who sign up, people who have Franklin as a home-based teacher. So that teacher can see, all right, where did the kids sign up so they know where to go. I could save this filter and name it Franklin. And then exit out, and then it will always be here for them to go see on their own, right? Each teacher can just go and find their name, and they can see their section right there. I could have another one, and I could create it and be going further down, Lester. And now Lester's here. I can rename it Lester. And then exit, and then that teacher can go and click on their name and find their section. In a similar fashion, you could have a filter done by what session they signed up for. So now this would be not for the homeroom teacher, but for the teacher who's running that particular session. So you could clear this out and say, all right, I want only the ones who signed up for 3D design. And then you can name that by its category there. And then you have that 3D design teacher can go and click that and find only their students for that section. And the same thing goes for session 2, right? Whatever you want to filter by, you can make your filter views that way. It's not bad. It's a good way to start. There are some other more efficient ways or some better organizing of things. But that's a good, safe way to do things. It just takes a little bit, of course. You can also just sort this sheet. You could go here at the heading and sort it A to Z. And then you get to have all of the teachers section here, which isn't bad. Again, you're going to have to scroll, though, to find their area until they can find their section. And there's a lot of other information going on here. So the filter view at least gets rid of all the other stuff you don't need. But this was quicker, right? Sorting it by teacher name was a lot quicker. Same thing for activity. We could just sort it, and we could have all the activities here. Now, it changed the teacher name, though, right? So working on this same sheet, if a home-based teacher wants to see where their kids are going and person wants to know who signed up for their activity, it's hard. You can't really do both because it's going to change things. We're going to work on that in a little bit. Okay, but those are our options here. Those are our options that you can have very quickly done. You can even do it by last name for student if you want to. And it doesn't take much effort, right? It's really, really quick. Okay. So the other way to be able to organize this is if we just make a new sheet altogether. Drag this out of the way. If we go to make a new sheet altogether, which is down here. So now I can use this as my filter. So let's call this one of the teachers, or let's just call this sign up info. We'll get to the teacher's name in a second. So now I have to take all this information and I have to try to filter it and know what I want to filter by. So maybe I don't know what all the signups for. Maybe I don't know what all the teacher names are, and I need to organize that. This is where some formulas come into play. So right here, we're going to use the formula unique. The unique formula is going to be able to pick out what are all the different entries that are in that column. So if I do equals, right, anytime you type a formula, you type that equal sign, and that signifies to the computer that you're going to write a formula. Unique. See, now instead of writing the word unique, which nothing happened, when I have the equals here, the unique pops up, and then now it knows it's a formula. And it gives you a little bit of a hint. You can add more information by clicking the drop down, and even more by clicking the 3 dots. But right here, it kind of tells you what it wants. It wants, what is the range? What are you trying to search for? Where is the information that you want the computer to look at? So while this is open and highlighted, see how it's kind of popped out? I'm going to go over to form responses, and I'm going to select this column. Just click on it and it fills it in for you. Now, if I click back up here where the formula is being entered, it shows me that's the range. And now if I wanted to put more information in here by column, which means, do you want to filter by columns or by rows, right? We can just leave that alone for right now because it's just one column that it's searching in. We don't need to mess with that. And exactly once, make sure that there are no duplicates. Again, nothing we have to worry about right now because things have been entered in just that one column. So I'm just going to do unique right there. And it's going to give me all of the unique names that the teachers have. That's what the kids signed up for. So there's a list of all the teachers. Now, this is not alphabetical. I could, right? Maybe I want it alphabetical. Maybe I want to see it all in order, and I just like that data all organized. I could then come over here, and I could use the sort function. So again, I'm going to type equals, and then sort. And now it shows me the formula instead. So what ranges I want to sort? I want to sort right through here. And I'm just clicking and dragging. I don't have to type anything. Click and drag. I want it to sort that data, comma. What column? Again, I'm only doing one column, so I don't need to worry about that. It's the first column. Is it ascending, right? So in what order do I want it to be? Do I want it to be reverse or not, right? Up or down? To be honest, I always get this backwards. So I can write true or false. If I want it ascending, I'll write true. If I want it to go reverse, I'll type in false. So ascending here means if I type true, it means I'm going to put it in alphabetical order. If I had typed the word false, it means reverse it and do reverse alphabetical. And notice how, right, if I just click this button to sort, it would have messed up everything. The whole sheet would be all twisted. But if I use this formula, all it does is that one section that I told it to. And now it's all in order. Okay. I could do the same for the sessions, right? If I want to know what are all the names of the sessions that people signed up for, I could go over here and I could say, all right, for unique sessions, I could type in equals unique. Now it wants the range, so I'm going to go click the sheet. Notice how if I still have this highlighted, right? If I click out of this without typing anything, it's going to give me an error message because I didn't put anything there. So I go back up here, I activate the cell again. It's highlighted. It shows me this information that's how I know that it would be active when I double click here. It wasn't active then. And I go here, now it stays with me. I select this column. I don't need any other information. Just give me the unique entries. There's all of them. Again, it's not in alphabetical order or anything. So if I wanted to, I could come over here. There is a quicker way to do this, but to start with, I think this is a good, safe way to practice sorting and unique. Let's see, it messed up. I clicked some other place and it didn't go where I wanted to. I want it right here. Now I'm going to click and drag, and now I know it's going right because it's all color-coded. Sort, and now it's in order. So I've got my sessions, and I've got my names. I could do that again one more time for the session 2 if I wanted to. Or you could do it by grade level, or you could do it by name, whatever you would like. This is enough information for us to go on. You can practice more. Okay, so now, if I wanted to make a sheet for the information, instead of the filter view, I can make a sheet, and I'm going to call this the first teacher name, so Albert. So all of Albert's, Mr. Albert, Mrs. Albert, all of their information is going to go on this sheet. So I'm going to do that with the filter function. So now I'm going to do equals filter. And all this is going to say is, what information do you want to pull out from a whole bunch of other information? So I want it to filter. I don't really care when they signed up. I don't really care about their email. I just want their name, grade, home base, and what they signed up for. Because this is for the teachers' home base students, so they know where the kids are going for both the sessions. So I'm going to highlight all of these columns. Right? Notice how if I click here, in the row, it doesn't give me the columns. It only gives me that one row, and it will only search that one row. I want to search this entire group of columns from C all the way down through H, all the way down through all the way to the bottom of the H. Okay, so I've got the filter. So this data is going to tell me, is telling it to search through all of these columns. And now the condition. What am I looking for? What do I want it to say? Yes, that's okay. That's the data you want. You do that by now saying, all right, out of all of this data, search this column right here where it equals, and I have to put it in quotes because it's text. Anything that's in text or words, string as it's called, I have to put quotes on. I'm going to look for the name Albert or whatever it looks like on here. Right? If it was Mr. Albert, I'd have to type in exactly what it looks like on that sheet. Right? If it was Mr., it'd have to be Mr. or Mrs. Right? It would have to be exactly the same looking piece. But right now it's just Albert, so that's all I need. Is there another condition? Do I want it to say Albert and in a certain grade or and a certain activity? No, but I could do that. I could say and, comma, where this says 8th grade. Right, but again, I don't need that for right now. It could go on and on. That's all I need. Search this group where this column says Albert. There, and now it's right here. Now there's no titles on here because the titles of the headings didn't have the word Albert, so it didn't come with it. So I can just copy and paste them in so that way it looks how it should. And I can also edit these cells, right? I can change these headings. I can make it bold. I can change the background to a different look, right? And one even better way is to freeze this row, freeze this entire top row. And I can do that by coming over here. See these thick gray bars? If I click and drag that to however many rows I want, it will freeze those so those don't move when I scroll. So when I scroll down now, it will keep all of these in that one spot. I'm going to just freeze it so it goes after here. So this stays there. Now, right now, it's not that big of a deal because my data doesn't go so far. But back on this first page, my data goes really far down. And if you notice, all of this heading is staying there because that row is frozen. The same thing goes for columns. I can click this thick gray bar when it changes to a hand, and I can drag over. So if I want to see the timestamp and email address, no matter how far I scroll, I can freeze that, and look, it stays there. Pretty handy for viewing purposes. Okay. All right, so now I've got all of Albert's homeroom right here, what they've signed up for. That's all set. I could do that for each teacher, right? And right now, since I've already made Albert's, I don't have to redo everything. I can just make a copy of this. And then the next teacher's name, Bradley, I can just copy that. Double click to rename this Bradley. And now go to where my formula is right here. Everything else is going to be exactly the same, except for I'm going to change Albert to paste in Bradley. And that will automatically change for me. And I could go on. I could do it again. I could say, make a duplicate, and Collins is the next one. Paste in Collins, go here, double click. I don't want to get rid of the quotes. Paste in Collins, and it goes for me. So, not too time consuming. A little bit longer than the filter. Definitely longer than the quick column sort. But still, in my opinion, it's worth the time to organize it and only have that one teacher's data there, right? We could do the same for what they signed up for. Okay, we could start a new sheet. So I'm going to click here, the plus, and now I'm going to try to filter. I've got all my names here, right, in order. So 3D design. So I'm going to copy. It's going to give me that only. So I'm going to copy 3D design. That's the first one. We'll just do it this way for right now. Now I'm going to paste that. Okay. So if I do equals filter, again, what am I looking to filter? I want this sign up. Right now, this is just the first session. So we'll just go right here and do session 1. Okay, you could include session 2, but we'll just do session 1 right now. So it's going to search those. And what is it searching for? You want it to kick back anything in this column, right? The name of the session that equals. Now it's quotes because, again, it's text. Paste in that 3D design that I had copied. And there, it'll show up who signed up for that. Now, again, I need my headings, so I'm going to go back to my other sheet, copy, paste those headings in. I want to freeze the columns, I can. And now I've got all of them in 3D design for this first session. So it's like an attendance sheet now for whoever's coming to that person's session. I could do that for each one. Bingo. So the next one's bingo. I can copy that. Now I already have this one sheet made. I can duplicate it. I can change this to bingo. I can change this. It's right here. Paste in bingo that I just copied. And it will show that one only. So it starts to go a little bit quicker once you have it set up. All right. So we've taken the data. We've been able to organize it, either filter view or sorting or putting it in its own sheet. You're able to find out the unique entries so you know who's there and sort them if needed. Okay. And now we can say, all right, what do we want to do with this? If we want to share it to people, well, you can't just share one sheet, unfortunately. Right? You can give them viewing rights so they can see it. You can copy it to one sheet that only they have access to. But again, that takes kind of useless time, in my opinion. You can just share this sheet that has all the tabs down below, and they just find their tab. There is an option to go down and publish, and you can publish individual sheets as a web page looking piece. And then you can give them the link so that only they can see it. And that's the only way you can make one sheet seen at a time But again, that's kind of an extra step that's not really needed if all the staff is seeing this and they want to see, if someone came into their room that they didn't know, wasn't on their list, they can at least go back to the original sign up and see, all right, where are you and where are you supposed to be? Right, you might as well have them have access to everything. Okay, so that's the bulk of it with organizing the data. That's a really simple thing, and that happens all the time in a lot of schools that I've seen, is that they want to organize signups. They want to have kids go certain places. They can use this method to get their sheets looking organized that way. Let's talk about taking data about students, which is also another common piece, and being able to make charts and trend lines and information about it. So here we have some tracking. Okay, Bobby Smith, again, made up name. And there is some data about Bobby Smith about reaching goals, or maybe this is grades or whatever it might be, about Bobby Smith. Right now, it was a tracking about goals for their accommodations, or their behaviors as part of an IEP program or 504 program. So right now, you can see the teacher has entered in data about the student meeting their goal, what percentage of the time, and then there's the average formula. Okay, so real basic. I'll get rid of this. We can go over that. If I type in, and give me a suggestion because there's already stuff typed in, but I don't want that. I just want to type in average with the equal sign. Now it asks me, what do I want to average? And I can just click and drag again. I can click and drag all of this data. Maybe I want to even include these two down here because they're going to be entered in later on. Finish off the parentheses, close them off, hit enter. And now that gives me the average of all this data. If I type in another number here, it will now include that because I told it to include these cells as they go. Okay, so we've got this data. Maybe we want to make a chart about it. Right? Specifically, I don't need all the goals. I just want to see one goal at a time. Well, on this particular sheet that had already been set up, there's a special thing down in here where you can choose what goal, and it will change the numbers based on up here. So you can just drop down and click goal 3, and it will change the numbers for you. So let's use this to create a chart. So I'm going to select this data. I'm going to go insert a chart. And usually Google will be able to have a suggestion ahead of time. Okay, so I don't want to title this goal 3 versus week 3. This is just goal 3. And you can see it over time. We can use this as the type of chart here, which is just a line. I can go in here to the type, and I could edit it. I could change it to a bar if I wanted to show it that way. All right. That one's very similar. I just changed the name back. The other one changed the name back here. We can get rid of that again. Okay. Maybe I like the bar, but I also like the line. Okay, so we can actually do both. You have a whole bunch of other ones to choose from. Pie chart if you wanted to, but obviously that makes sense right now because pie chart is showing parts out of a whole, and this isn't dealing with a whole. It's just showing it more like a histogram over time of what's going on. But there's a whole bunch. There's heat maps, right, which are pretty cool. There's your dot plots, okay, your line graphs, all of this. So I've got that now. Okay, you can customize a whole bunch if you wanted to. Background color, right? Border, right? Font, all of that. Axis titles, which we just worked on changing, right? What's the title, font, the size. You could change the format here that you have set up, but we're good there for right now, right? You could edit anything you want in here. This is what all that is. You can edit the legend, the horizontal axis, if you want to change, right, the font on here, etc. But the real thing to check out here is under series, where I can click trend line, and it gives me the trend overall of what's happening, right? So it's not as specific as that first style that we had with that line going up and down, but it does give you a kind of trend line about how things are going overall, and you can kind of see how that's progressing as a quick best fit line type. Okay, so now I can go over here, I can move this around, and the cool thing is, now if I change this, right, that chart changed, except for the title, right, because I didn't include that in my data, but that chart changed dynamically when I change here. Now, you don't have to have it this way. You can just leave it static. You could just do all this information at once if you wanted to, but it gives you an idea of how it could look for the different goals, right? If I do it this way, it will change, but again, it does not have to. And if I included this cell when I made things, then the other names would change here as well. Now you can also, have the chart by itself, download it. You can send it to its own sheet, in which case it makes a new tab down here, and it's huge, and you can just see it on its own, which is nice. Okay. You could copy the chart, and you could put it in, if I make a new piece here, I could put it into a slideshow. I could have it linked, in which case when right here, so now if this changes on the spreadsheet, it will change here. You could do that same thing for a table. If I delete this, I could go back to this table and highlight all of this if I wanted to, copy, and I can now Control V, paste, and I can paste it linked or unlinked. If I just want it by itself and never to change it, I can paste it unlinked, but now I'm going to paste it linked. All right, so now it's here, and when things are edited on here, I'll change that. I'll go over here and edit. It'll take a little bit. Right there, and it will update on here though, right? Not too long. So you can play around with that. And editing it here will not affect this way though. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so you can copy and paste them in here, right? I can resize this. And again, this resizing doesn't affect this. Nothing's happening here. Okay. All right. So now we can talk about using Google Sheets as a class roster. Again, these are all different names. You can see they repeat because I just copy and paste them in. So let's say I have this as a roster, and this is my homeroom students, and I need to have checklists, or I want to make a grade book out of this. I can just set this up as we just did. All right, I'm going to freeze the top row, and I'm going to freeze this first column as well, because that way when I scroll, if I have a bunch of data, when I scroll, their names will stay here. So let's say first it's just a homeroom class roster, and I need to check to make sure they've turned in their forms. We have a bunch of forms that go out, and I'll make sure they've turned it back in. I can go here, and I'm going to insert checkbox. And this to me is the quickest way. So now I can just say, did they turn in a form? Yes. Check, check, check. The cool thing is, too, I can just press spacebar. Even quicker than trying to line up my mouse to click. I can scroll down arrow and press spacebar, check and uncheck. You can do that as like your roster. Again, if this was a grade book and you had assignment 1, you could then put in their grades here. You could have the overall average for that assignment, as we learned before, the average formula. And look, it knows what I want to average, so I can average that. Or again, I could go by student. I could type in average, and I could say I'm going to average all of these that are here, right? And we're going to copy and paste this. This is assignment 2 now, and say the student got a 95. The average is going to compute there. So I can average by assignment. I can average by student. whatever it may be. I can make my own grade book. I can make a project plan. I can make a planner, right? If with these headings and such, if you wanted to, you could say, all right, here's Monday, Tuesday, right, etc. And then you can make your plan from here with the heading, right? Fill in the rest. And then this could be, right, period 1, period 2, whatever it may be, or times, and then you can make your planning and make this bigger. You can edit these sizes, right? You don't have to edit every column by itself. If I click a whole bunch of columns all at once, and then I click and drag one of them to resize, all of them will be resized that same thing to make it uniform. Same thing for rows. If I highlight a bunch of rows and I want more space, I could get this little arrow that's between them, change that size, and it'll change all the rows at once. I can put a border around here, right? And starts to look like a grid, starts to look more like a planning piece. You can set it up that way. And then finally, one last piece to note here for your basic skills is, what if I don't want people to edit things? What if I want to share and I want them to edit some parts but not other parts, right? What if I want them to check off, and a co-teacher gets a form from a student, I want them to be able to check off here, but I don't want them touching the grades if it's in the same spot. I can highlight a certain section, let's say this part, okay? And I can go and see if it gives it on here. Yeah. I can click Protect Range. So now I can say this is the grades section, give it a name. It's protecting what I just highlighted. I'm going to say only me and the owner, which is usually yourself as well, can edit that. So now if someone else tries to edit in here, they will get a warning message that says you do not have permission to edit, something to that effect. So this stuff is protected. This column is not, so people can edit and change this, but they cannot touch this area. Only you can. Super helpful if you want to share a sheet and it has data on it that you don't want others to mess with, but they need to do things, other parts on that sheet. Same thing goes with the whole sheet, right? Maybe I want them to be able to edit data on here, but I don't want them to be able to edit this chart or to mess with this tab right here. I can go here and I can protect this entire sheet. The same deal, permissions, show who can edit it or not. And now it's got a lock on it, and you can see no one else. And that means like there's restrictions on it, and whoever you decide can edit it is able to mess with that sheet. Otherwise, they can't touch it. They can only look at it, right? So they can edit here, and that's fine, but not here because it's going to mess with things, right? So if they can change stuff on here, right? It shows up here. Week 13 just showed up here with that 88. But they don't need to mess with that sheet itself, because they'll just deleting that, and you have to go back in and fix it again and create a whole new one. Too much of a hassle. So you just leave it like that. Okay, so you have access to this sheet. You can make a copy, and you can go through and try to practice those things out on your own as well.